Alright, so tonight's tutorial is on parts of a debate. You're going to learn the different components of a debate in class, starting with opening statements, then rebuttals, and finally closing statements, and what those all look like. So let's get started. Alright, so opening statements. As far as the organization is concerned, you're going to have an intro, a body, and a conclusion. Try to think of a slogan that's going to tie everything together and really speak for your debate team. As far as the argument type, the opening statement should use logic and expert opinions. All of your facts and statistics should be represented in this part of the debate. So go back to your research that you used for your essay and try to load your opening statement with lots of facts and research pieces. As far as your word choice, of course, you want to be very persuasive. Quotes, academic language. If you've done any interviews or done any surveys to collect your own information and data from students here at Neil Armstrong, those are all really strong sources and good to use. And as far as the length, the opening statement should be at least 3 minutes in length. If you go over 5, I might have to kind of move you along and move you through it faster so we can get the whole debate done in one class period. You should usually pick the strongest speaker of your group to deliver this part of the debate. All groups are required to have a PowerPoint during their opening statement, so you got to figure out how to put that together as well. All right, for the rebuttal section, you're going to use a 4-step process, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, and you always want to relate it back to your topic. As far as the delivery is concerned, you need to follow those 4 steps. You have to be a quick thinker for this. So I know some people, you decide that you don't want to do the opening or closing statement because you don't want to have to do a full speech, but you really have to be prepared for rebuttals and be a quick thinker and speak on the spot. So this does take some good critical thinking here. You can give a rebuttal during the opening statement and the rebuttal section only. Once we close it out and get to the closing statements, you're not allowed to do any more rebuttals. So those of you that are doing the rebuttal section, I'm requiring that you have to speak at least 3 times in order to pass. You've got to do those 3 rebuttals during either the opening statement of the other team or during the rebuttal section. That's it, then you're cut off, and if you don't speak 3 times, then you could fail. So really be watching the time and the sections of the debate and get your stuff done. As far as scoring, again, like I just said, to get a proficient, you have to deliver at least 3 rebuttals that follow the 4-step process. Don't ramble along and get lost on the topic. Don't use circular reasoning or else the other team's going to call you on it. So as far as the scoring is concerned, stick to that 4-step process. All right, that 4-step process. And we're going to cover this in class a little bit. But basically, it's the first step is they say, and then but, because, therefore. So they say, this is just where you're going to repeat what the other team said during their opening statement. This is why it's so critical that you take notes during the actual speech. Practice shortening the quote from the other team, synthesize or summarize what they said a little bit. And then transition, you can use but, however, whatever. This is just going to clearly state your counter argument, but I disagree because of whatever reason. So the because section is where you're going to use your reasoning. It can support your counter argument or it can be a criticism of your opponent's idea. And then finally, your therefore section is where you're going to compare your opinion to the opponent's and discuss why your side defeats theirs always, hands down. It's a critical skill for debate. Your argument could be better reasoned than theirs, better evidence than theirs, has more importance or experience than theirs. You've just got to point those things out and really break it down. Remember, when we did mini debates, this is the counterattack. This is when you attack the other side. So you've got to really think about how you're putting all of this together. All right, the closing statement. As far as the organization of the closing statement is concerned, you need to still have an intro, a body, and a conclusion. If your team used a slogan in the opening statement, you should repeat it here. Repeat any of your most important facts or statistics from the opening statement, but don't introduce anything new. There are no rebuttals allowed in this section, so you're free to go from start to finish without interruptions. Your argument, you should be using emotional, appealing arguments here. You want to appeal to the audience, make them want to vote for your team. This is the last the audience is going to hear from you, so you really need to make it count. As far as the length is concerned, I'm asking that it should be at least 1 to 2 minutes in length, so a little bit shorter than the opening statement because you're not introducing any new information. You're just repeating what was said in the opening and appealing for the emotional appeal of the audience. All right, that's it for tonight. So hopefully you better understand how the debate's going to look when we get around to it. And honor students, don't forget to do the digital whisk, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.